Hey everyone, how are you doing this evening? And welcome to GrayManPrepping. Tonight is, of course, it's Tuesday, so it's Tactical Tuesday, where we'll be talking about tactics, gear, and more. And the more is important tonight because tonight's topic is dun, 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 sanitation before, during, and after emergencies and disasters. So, how's everybody doing out there? Sorry, I went and did something stupid. I ate a big bowl of homemade chili just before this, so I got a little burn going on. All right, so let's go to the comments here and let's see who was the first one in here. All right, first one in was Alicia Autism Mom, woo, from north of the border. And then Joe Primal was in here, but he couldn't stay. His wife is sending him out for some sugar. Then Shadow Scout Swede from Sweden is here. Kaylin Strain is in the house. Gear Grinding 19 is here. Passing the Quad is here, and she is crocheting while she's listening, practicing those skills. All right, let's see who else there was chit-chatting. Duncan 1900 Homestead's here. Hi, Brenda. And scroll on down. Wendy at Hardknack Farms is in the house. Everybody's talking up a store. I'm not sure whether it's Mac or Patty or both, but Southern Bliss Homestead is here. Glenn, How to Garden is in the house. Holistic Heritage Homestead is here. Got to get it right. Okay, we got a question here. Boom, 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 boom. All right. It's very itchy. Isma, it's on her. Dang, my wife would be the one, about that, because she's dealt with that type of stuff with her brothers and my daughter when she was in high school. So if anybody can answer that, be sure to tag, do the @ Alicia, and then it'll pop up, and to make sure she gets sees what the answers are to that. How to garden. What else is here? Yeah, Holistic Homestead has some good comments in it. Shawnee Shave is in the house. Okay, Walter Davis is here. Woohoo! And I am caught up. I know for a lot of itchy stuff and everything else, for all my boys and a bunch of our scouts that were in the scout troop and stuff, she used to have the Benadryl cough syrup and a Q-tip, and put that on. Rather than you trying to rub the cream in, you put that on there and just got in there really quick. But either the Benadryl cream can help with the itching, or the Benadryl cough syrup with a Q-tip. Of course, it probably wouldn't hurt if they took a swig of the Benadryl cough syrup, gotten it working from the inside out as well. Alrighty, so tonight's topic. It's been on the books for months. I finally got around to it here, and I talked about it before it was coming up. So let me get here. Boom. Yeah, sanitation before, during, and after emergencies and disasters. Now, Uncle Al and I covered this with Dave from Southern Ohio Prepping 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, actually, in February of 2020, over on Camp Patton Family Compound, before I resurrected this channel. So, hey, Addie. And so we're gonna, I don't have those other two to bounce off of right now. I did put out some other invitations out there to people to come up and talk. Good, and I froze, but I got a good list here of stuff to cover over here. So let's go in here first. All right, the first thing everybody thinks about when it comes to sanitation and disasters is going to be sewer. Sewer water, sewage, everything, heavy rains and stuff. You're going to have sewage bubbling up stuff. You're going to have broken lines during earthquakes and everything else. And so, Uncle Al said tonight he's having bad internet problems. So, but anyways, yeah. So you got this. You get too much water, it boils out of the sewers and up into the house. Hope nobody's eating. Yeah, but one of the things that we talked about before. There we go. Now we're going to talk about stuff from a Boy Scout perspective. At Scout Camp, they have the pit latrines and stuff at most camps. However, at some camps, they have that stuff in the main campgrounds, but the Scouts would go out and for a night or two and do outside of camping. And one of the things for them, they would do this to earn their Wilderness Survival Merit Badge. And one of the things we taught them was how to dig a proper Scout trench line. Not a latrine line, a Scout trench line. A latrine line, if you look up stuff, they say, you got to dig it 2.5 feet deep and 12 to 18 inches wide, and you have boards on the side to stand on so you can squat and go. In Scouts, your ditch, your trench, is no more than 4 inches deep. There's an important reason to this. And it's about 4 inches wide. You go, you cover it up, and the next one comes and goes, whatever. The reason is, if it's too deep, it takes quite a while for it to break down. If it's 4 to 6 inches deep only, all the worms, the bacteria, the mitochondria, everything else gets in there, and all the bugs get down in there, and they gobble it up, process it, and it's gone in a couple of weeks. Okay. So, but that has to deal with sewer stuff. Now, if most people in the city, I don't want to do that in my backyard. You got choices. You do that in your backyard, or you can have problems everywhere else. Now, there are the camp buckets. You get the 5-gallon bucket with a liner in it. Comes with a snap-on seat that you can sit on, and you can use that. Some of them, the liners have the chemicals in there, so you use it 7 or 8 times before you seal it up. Hey, Tibor, how's it going? And there's a lot of things to be said for that. Yeah, you can control it, and if anybody's sick, you're controlling it into there, but then you have this bag to dispose of later. And it depends how long the emergency is, the disaster event. And I'm going to refer back to 2 of them that were really nasty, similar to what's going on in Southern California right now, Katrina and Rita. Everyone thinks, Katrina was, actually Rita was worse than Katrina because it came on the heels, and a lot of the ground was already saturated when Katrina dumped just as much or more water down there in Louisiana. But there were people that were out there in flooded areas, living on the roofs of their houses for a week, 10 days, and it was pretty bad. And so, and so that brings up the second part of sanitation is Well, if you're in a flooded event type thing, excessive rain, hurricanes, whatever it is, and the area is flooded, you're going to have a little bit more problem with waterborne diseases, especially if the people, quote, upstream from you, where the water's flowing from, are pooping and that stuff in the water. And if they've had septic tanks like this here, and those septic tanks have opened up because so much water has gone in and stuff's floated out, that causes a problem too. And I froze. So, when you're talking about sanitation for disposal of human waste, you need to have a multifaceted plan. Oh, yes, I'm using a $20 word there. A multifaceted plan that addresses excessive wetness, excessive heat, and other things. If you're in a fire area and you've lost the house and stuff, and where you don't have too much heat. I mean, you may have heat there, but you also have no water raining down on you and stuff, and so you got other problems as well. Our cabin in the woods, how's it going? So you need to start thinking now and get it done. Now, one of the things that I mentioned earlier over on David Lidd Prepper Principles channel, when he was talking about getting prepared for stuff, was that a plan that you talk about is a dream. A plan that you write down is a shot at success or a shot at survival. So one of the things you need to do is get together as a family, because just because you have an idea doesn't mean that someone else may not come up with a better one, or they may trigger you to come up with a better idea. And if you're solo and it's just you, get together with some friends that are also solo, so they can plan. You guys can all plan for as separate people, but you can get ideas for how each person is going to do it and get things going. All right, let's see, what do I got any more after that? No, that was it. All right. So let me go ahead and I'm going to drop the link here. There we go. And come over here. And I am going to replace pinned message. That's up there. Okay, so now it's come on, it's supposed to change. It's not changing. Replace pinned message. There it goes. Now it changed up above. So yeah, things are running slow tonight, I guess. So one of the things you need to consider when you're talking sanitation, it's not just poop, what you're going to do with it. It's your drinking water. Where are you going to get it? Do you have enough stored? So these are things to consider to make sure you don't get waterborne diseases, cholera and a few other ones. All right, someone said, okay, I see Walter saying hi to Garden Girl. I didn't see Steph come in. Yeah, 100 yards from where you're camping at is where you minimum of where you should be going. And if there's any sort of slope, you always go downhill from your water source. You go downhill from your camp if you can. Sometimes downhill from your camp is towards your water source, and to get on the other side of the water source is going to be a long way. So then you 100 yards off on a tangent, off on an angle, away from your water source and away from that. But if the river's flowing north to south and it's east of you, then you go 100 yards south of you, so it's away from the water and away from you. Now we're going to get into some other things too. I still have a grandson who's in pull-ups. And if you have babies and diapers, whether they're cloth or disposable, you're going to have another issue there for sanitation. And then, of course, there is the better part of the human race that has their issues with sanitation. And so these are all things you need to talk about and plan for in advance. Last minute planning is paramount to failure. Tibor. Yeah, especially if you don't like them and it can't be traced to you. Oh, hang on, let me change that banner here. There we go. And back to comments there. All right. Hey, it's CB. All right. Alicia has a good question here, and I've mentioned it before, and I'll mention it again. Okay. Opinion: how many gallons per day per person? Well, some people say, well, I only need to drink about a half gallon a day because during an event, a disaster, I'm just going to be sitting around waiting. And it's like, to me, I have a term begins with S, ends with D. Figure out what it is. If it's a disaster, I ain't sitting around. I'm going to be working my butt off. I'm going to be sweating, and I'm going to need more water. I've always from back in the 70s, it's been 1 gallon a day per person drinking water. If you don't drink it all, that goes in for that extends your water for another half day or whatever else. Hey, Kathy, how's it going? Now that water, that 1 gallon a day is not for cooking, is not for washing, it's for drinking. Because the rules of three, there are 3 rules of 3, not 4, not 5 rules of 3, 3 rules of 3. Number 1, 3 minutes without air, the average person dies. 3 days without water, the average person dies. 3 weeks without food, the average person dies. Okay, those are the 3 rules of 3. Now, Doc Bones has a good one that I can see adding Doc Bones one in there. It's 5 minutes of bleeding time, the average person dies. But number 2, 3 days without water, the average person dies. So hey, that's important. Water is the thing of life. So well, if you're drinking it, that can be part of your gallon before you're drinking it. And if you guys are drinking less than a gallon, you can pool your water together to make extra coffee, or in our case, hot chocolate. Oh, and don't forget water for your animals. Some animals take more water than others. So you need to have your water supply for drinking to survive. Now, if you have a bunch of MREs and stuff, all you don't need to add water to it. And I'm not talking the freeze-dried stuff, backpacking stuff like Mountain House or some of the others. You have your regular MREs. Then you have your water. You don't have to use your water for cooking it, and you're good. But if you're needing to cook water for cooking, I always tell people, well, just count on another gallon a day for water for cooking. So, like, if you're like the people in certain areas of Southern California, oh man, they got hammered hard. They were like, the government's going to take care of us. The great Gavin Newsom is going to protect us. Ah! All right, CB has a problem here. Yep. She hoards 2-liter water bottles. Yeah. Yeah, it's like I say, it's 3 weeks without food. The average person dies. It's like water. After 1 day without water, you are getting lightheaded and your cognitive processing is going downhill quick. So, yeah. So you got, with the sanitation, you need to be sure that you are making sure that no one in your group is going no one is going to get sick. All right. Now, even if you're not in a flooding situation or a hurricane situation or whatever that's going on, and you're in another type of emergency, earthquake, whatever else, you need to have a plan on all your plans, whether it's for wildfires, earthquakes, floods, freezing temperatures, whatever it is, you need to include in your response plan for that particular emergency where you're going to poop, what you're going to do with it, how you're going to protect all the members of your family. Okay, pool shock. You got to be careful of pool shock. Not all pool shock or pool things are the same. Some of them are safe to use. To use the water afterwards. You use it on like a 250 gallon cube. You use a certain amount of pool shock. It's safe to drink later on. Others, it ain't safe. Now, I used to work for an underground construction company, Mountain Cascade. We put in a lot of water lines, everything from 8-inch water lines up to 120-inch water lines. And when we got done installing it, we would have to sanitize and flush the water line. Well, it means as we fill it up, as we went along, we had take a little mastic, put a dab of mastic in a pipe, put a pool shock tablet on it. And every so often we'd do that as we were laying the pipe. Then once it was done, we put an air test on it, pass. Put the water test on it, pass. And with the water test on it for pressure passed, we'd still have to leave it for 1 week under pressure for that for the chlorine in the pool shock to sanitize the pipeline. Then we would flush it, and we had a formula for how much, had to put a water meter on for water going in, and we'd flush it like 4 times the amount of water that pipe could hold. Just flush it through, out the other end, down the storm drain. For pool shock, if you're only doing a 250-gallon water cube, I wouldn't use pool shock. I would use regular, plain, unscented chlorine bleach. And if it's clean water you're putting in there, it's 4 drops per gallon. And hang on a second. Let me grab the manual here, and I'll give you the higher amounts too. Yes, I keep my book handy. This is the CERT field guide, and it has the information from FEMA and DHS on it. So there we go. right there near the beginning. And I'll hold it up here. Hopefully you'll read it. Oh, no, sorry. It's 4 drops. That's cloudy water. So 2 drops for 1 quart, 8 drops for 1 gallon, half teaspoon for 5 gallons. So you just take it up from there. Now, if you're putting away city water, which already has some chlorine in it, you'll need to put 4 drops per gallon of city water that is already done. All right, and that's just to keep anything in case they had a oops at the treatment plant. They don't have anything in there. And Howie is in the house. Food forest permaculture. Yeah, water doesn't go bad. Let me put that up. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Yeah. So water doesn't go bad. What it can do is it can, if it's not treated, it can grow algae, especially if the container is semi-translucent and the sun hits it and goes through it. That's why you want to keep your water storage containers totally in a non-sunlight affected room. Water will go flat though. And I've done videos on it here showing it where I took a gallon jug, filled it up from the tap, put the camera on it, and ran high speed for a while. And you could see all the air bubbles coming out of it. And at the top, where it was that much from the top, all of a sudden now it's getting bigger and bigger. And after a couple of days, you got a lot of water out of there. And after a month or so, you can have a couple of inches of air gap at the top because all the air has risen out of the water. And if you drink that water, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just going to taste, what's wrong with this water? It's not delicious. That's because it's flat. How do you take care of that? Well, if it's in a gallon container, you shake it up first and get all the air back into it. If you have a big 55-gallon barrel, you get like a little fish tank air bubbler pump, and you keep a line of clean air hose and a stone for it, and you drop the air stone down in there, and it just bubbles and bubbles, and after a day of it bubbling in there, the whole tank should be good and re-aerated and good to go. All right, if the water is no longer drinkable, if you're doing, say, like gutter water and you're pulling gutter water out, there are several steps you need to have. You don't want to do just one thing. You need to go through it. You need to run it through several different types of filters. One of the filters is to remove chemicals out of it, such as oil, gasoline, benzene, and stuff that would be in the gutter from cars leaking oil and dripping stuff. And then you run it through your different ones, and then you get all the stuff out of it. And then, but then that doesn't take care of any bacteria and stuff. And so that's where either putting the iodine tablets in, chlorine into it, boiling it, or any mixture of those. But there are some filters that are really good at removing everything, but they're expensive as all get out. Yeah, you can get the C chemicals to evaporate. There's another thing called I just had it and I just lost it. It's for fish tanks, for tropical fish and stuff, and it's dechlor. It's called dechlor, and you add that to it, and that'll neutralize all the chemicals that the city treatment plants put in there. And the dechlor, make sure the one that'll, because basically there's chlorine and chloramine. A lot of them are going to chloramine because it's less toxic, but it is harder to get rid of. And so you got to make sure that the dechlor you get will remove chloramine. Chloramine, cities that treat with chloramine, it takes a week to try to get it to air out of there because it does not evaporate like chlorine does out of water. Okay, animals. Yeah, water for animals, treat it like water for yourself, especially if you're eating something from those animals like chickens, eating the chickens or the eggs. You want them getting fresh water. Rabbits, you're going to be eating the rabbits, whatever. You want to make sure they're getting, so you don't want to put a lot of chemicals in there to try to sanitize it. Yeah. And if you have like CB was saying, rainwater, and you want to make sure it's, you just want to make sure it's clear stuff. A simple sand filter with charcoal, where it goes through the sand and then goes through a charcoal medium before it goes in the tank, does wonders for cleaning rainwater. Unless, of course, you're near a nuclear leak or chemical a hazmat site where you got that stuff in the air. That's a whole nother ball of wax to deal with. And Tammy at Rebel Canners just came in. Hey, Tammy. All right, let's go back to the disposal part. So yeah, we talked about the buckets, and you got the bags. You need to get rid of the bags. Talk about digging a trench line. If you're lucky and you or a neighbor happens to have one of those 2-man or 4-man post hole augers, those work great for making like a mini outhouse thing. You can go up, drill down. You can drill down 3 or 4 feet and use that, and it's a smaller one. You just take a piece of plywood, put over it that has about the same size hole or whatever, and do your business there. And if you store it's called a bale. It's like a compressed bag of cedar sawdust for rabbits and chickens and stuff like that, and hamsters. You can just take a little bit out there, sprinkle it in there, and go about your business. Now, there is some other things here. Let me pull it up here for you. I didn't think about pulling this up till just now because I had grandkids over for most of the day, and they were playing in Grandpa's living room and playing with the small trains and stuff. Let's see here. Toilet tent. Okay, and so let's bring this up here. Boom. Just throw into Amazon because I know they have different types of them. There's the square ones, the 4x4s. There's this type here. We actually have got one of these from Walmart for Scout. Some of them come with a bucket there and everything else. But yeah, you can get one of these and stake it down over it so everybody has privacy in the backyard. And yeah, and that's the thing too. They also make it. Oh, the one has the shower bag on it, so you can actually take a shower. Because the other type of sanitation, if you're out there working and sweating and doing stuff and trying to clean up, and after a week it's going to be, oh man. And you're going to come in the house and you're going to find the door locked, and your wife is going to say, you ain't coming in till you go shower. Yeah. So there's bodily sanitation as well. So yeah, you can use fire ash and in there as well. So Oh, sorry about the dog. I want nothing but an auger attachment and a drill. I want to get, yeah. Yeah, yeah, Tibor, we got it for Scout. We got one of those. We got those pop-ins for Scouts when we were going on things, and so they were lightweight. The Scouts wanted some privacy. All right, whoever wants privacy, here it is, 2 pounds. Who wants to carry the extra 2 pounds? You'd be surprised the number of hands that went up. And what's funny is one Scout would carry it for a while. He passed off to another, and they were passing it off in time, and so they were spreading out who was carrying it for the amount of time while they were hiking. Yeah, and if you're at your house and you're stuck in the city, you're not bugging out. It's just, hey, it's going to take a while for the water to get back going again, or for the water to recede, and for the city to get the water going again, and the sewers functioning. Yeah, you can dig a pit and do that. Interesting, and it's easy to store. You can go to Home Depot or Lowe's and you get what's called the sonotube, or the concrete tubes for forms and stuff, and you get one of those. And that way you dig your pit, you put that in there, you backfill around it because you don't want your sides caving in on you for anything else. And now you have one in there, and you can just, the cardboard will rot and go away. I missed it. I'm sorry, but I was thinking about it. Yeah, if you have a big garden, for some reason, America is one of the few countries that goes, you can't use human manure. And other countries use it a lot. And you just got, like, I guess showed in the beginning there, the Scout trench line is only 4 to 6 inches deep, so it's not buried too deep that the bugs and everything can't get to it and break it down quickly. Uh, yeah, sorry, I froze there for a second. Yeah, the tubes aloft you can use, but I generally like the tubes. I just bury them straight down and just let it fill up, and then especially if you do it near a tree, because the tree roots will get in there and they will break down the human manure fast. Yep, that's true, Tibor. All right. Let's see. I'm just checking my manual here for stuff about sanitation, um, things to consider. I think I pretty much covered everything. The main thing is start planning now. You don't have to have a big old massive 30-ring binder. You can just get one of those little cheap ones from Walmart, or over the 1-inch ring ones, and just put some paper in and start making notes and ideas, and bounce them off some friends, family, relatives, whatever, and try to come up with a good plan that works for you in more than one situation. Don't come up, well, I got a plan to handle this, and all of a sudden the disaster that hits is something totally different, and it's like, oh crud, my plan for sanitation ain't going to work in a flood, or my plan for sanitation isn't going to work in a fire or an earthquake. So you need to figure out a good plan that you can use and that you're comfortable with as well. Now, that said, I know some people that have gone, I don't know to call it the extreme, but have gone the extra mile. They actually have a camping trailer or whatever. Oh yeah, I can use my camping trailer. Once the tank gets full, they got a problem. But some of them have replaced the toilet tank in their RV and camping trailer with a composting toilet, a professional composting toilet. So, you know, they can have there. Others just have a composting toilet out in the garage with an built closet for it, because, hey, if you're out there working on stuff and you don't want to come in the house because you're all greasy and stuff, you got it right there. Okay, let's see what we got here. Yeah, boil any water. If there's any smell to it, try running it through. You know, if you have some of the chemical filters to run stuff through. Charcoal is a great chemical filter, but it's not the end all of you know, pulling certain chemicals out. And here I'm gonna blow a lot of people's thoughts out of the water on this one. Oh, I can just boil it and use like a still and collect the water out, and all the bad stuff will remain in the first pot. Because if you have anything treated with chemicals such as benzene or anything else, guess what they're going to do? They're going to evaporate out faster than the water and go in and be in your other one by the time the water gets over there to it for your distilled water. So using a still works for certain things, but not for chemicals. So if you can remove the chemicals first, then a still works great. Let's see here. Yeah, my daughter has 2 moms and 12, 14 bunnies in the house over there. Yeah. All right, Howie, go water the cucumbers, squash, and everything else. Hey, Steph, how's it going? So, yeah, there's a lot of things to consider. Now, the more land you have, the better you can be. Now, my grandmother, I think they had like 250 acres up in the finger of Idaho, up near the top up here. And they had a 3-stall outhouse. And, you know, they would move it every now and then. But, they dug a big pit, and then they built a platform around it so it wouldn't cave in around it, and they just moved the house from the one onto the other, fill that one up, take the platform there, go over and start digging the next one. It would, it'd take about a month or two to dig one, and that's what they did. But if you just need a temporary one, you can do a trench line on your own property. You can dig if you have a piece of equipment that has a little backhoe attachment to it, or a regular backhoe, you can dig a pit really quick. But unfortunately, most people aren't on that large piece of land. They're stuck in the cities. They're growing their gardens in their backyard. They're limited in space. And so there's, several things that they're limited on what they can do. The buckets, if they're in an area where they're like an HOA, they're in an HOA area, they may have to have the bucket. Thing where you have the bucket and you have the bag in it. Now I've heard some people say, yeah, the bags are made for one-time use. No, they're not. The bags are made for multiple uses, especially if it has the chemical in it or it has the chemical packet to drop in it. It's not a one-shot deal. You use that bag, several times, and it'll say on the bags that come with the chemical already in it, and it'll say on the packets of chemicals how long that bag for the chemicals last for in a 5-gallon bucket. Now, one of the things to make it last better is to do what a lot of boys do. And believe it or not, I've seen some girls do it too. They have a lot of trees around their property and stuff, and they have limited in the space of the bucket. It's like, everybody, you go find a tree and you pee on a tree. And you pee on a bush, or you go do, you do the liquid outside around about, and you use the bucket for the solids. So that's something to consider in making your plans up as far as how you're going to deal with sanitation. Let's see here. I'm just looking here for anything else I forgot. Oh, disposing of certain items that you normally would not flush down the toilet anyways, because they can cause problems down the toilet, or diapers, depends, or whatever, non-disposables. That's where you're going to want to get another 5-gallon bucket and just start putting those type of items in that bucket. When it's full, then you seal it up, put it inside of a second bag so you don't have an accident, and then you store it somewhere off to the side until the event's over and you can actually get rid of that. Good night, Alicia. Have a good night. Have a good night up there. Okay, I see. Yeah. Yeah, we had an HOA come in behind us in California there, and the HOA said, "Oh, you're within our sphere of influence. You have to follow our rules and regulations." They made the mistake of saying that while I recorded them. Went down to City Hall. The City Hall revoked their charter and disbanded their homeowners association and would not allow them to form another one for 10 years. Because they were going outside, trying to say that all these areas surrounding them had to abide by their rules. Big no-no. There are certain types of additives to septic tanks that you can actually activate, like yeast, by putting it in warm water. And so it starts doing stuff. So if you're doing a trench line stuff, you can have some of that there, and you can pour a little bit on it as you go along and use it, and it'll help quickly break stuff down. You can also, if you have like only like 4 or 5 of those packets for the 5-gallon buckets, you run out, but you have some of this septic tank stuff, you can use that as well. Overflow, and then soon as it starts going down, do not start using it immediately. But if you have some of the additives to toss in there to reactivate it, because if it's been flooded out, it probably lost a lot of the bacterial bio stuff in there, and you're going to need to give it a jump start. Have someone around to give it a jump start, and that'll help you be able to use it sooner. And one of the things, having worked underground construction, that we tell people, putting in a drain field that if the area does flood and your tank fills up and it floods down and fills up all your lines, the bigger it is, the quicker it can drain out and start accepting more water in. So the quicker you can get back to using your septic tank. Yes, Red-X is one of the ones, but there are some there are professional ones that certain companies use for certain things that really get a jump start on stuff. When I was working for Mountain Cascade, we started a second company called called MT Equipment and Construction. MT Equipment was our hazmat section. And we actually got hold of a laboratory that was making stuff and became one of their prime suppliers of bacterial liquid stuff. That if we had, like, we used it on at the place there where the company was located in Livermore, all the pavement and concrete all drained to certain drains, and they all went to this big, huge septic tank system, bigger than this, and it was staged. And so you get all the oil and grease and stuff off the construction equipment. We get washed down in there. Well, now you got these tanks full of oil and grease. What do you do it? Well, this bacterial sludge that this company made would eat it up. It eats up the oil and the grease and stuff and breaks it down and turns it into, non-toxic. And so we had that stuff we used to, but there are companies that make this industrial strength stuff that's way more potent than Rid-X for jump starting your tanks. It's not cheap, but if and depending on how long the shelf life of it, some of the stuff they've powdered it, so as soon as it gets wet, the bacteria comes back to life, and so there are things you can do on that. Couple tear down their home and rebuild several. If they're not in the HOA, they can just sit there and go to the HOA and say, "Hey, we're not." And they should go to the county and say, "Hey, these guys are trying to disenfranchise whatever, and have their charter taken away from them so they can't do it." All righty, let me go over here and pull up my list here for upcoming stuff. Where is it? There it is. All right, so I've had to shuffle things way around because I missed yesterday's and Friday's on Camp Patton Family Compound, going on with the staff sergeant stuff. Yeah, we were working until after dark getting stuff done. All right, so this Friday on the Friday night in the homestead, we're going to be talking about dealing with dirt and allergens in the home and things you can do, and hopefully I will have a new system set up here that I'll be able to have a short video I can show you on it, because we've been working on it, trying to get it in place. Next Monday, also on Camp Patton Family Compound, the topic is, what are your favorite TV shows? It's just, Monday night fireside chat. We're talking about TV shows. Next Tuesday here on GrayManPrepping, the topic is fabrication at home, making things that you need for repairing, and let's see, replacement parts, how to build jigs and stuff like, how to, up here that do that sort of thing. I'm going to be talking to them, try to get them up here to help out as well. We'll talk about tools to have and everything else so you can do this stuff at home. Yeah, don't buy into an HOA. If you have friends in an HOA, have them band together and run to take it over it. And if they can take over the board, they can disband it. The board can say, "Oh, we're no more. We're patting up," and they can get rid of it. Well, it's called, Kaylin, it's called, we're just waiting for a company to bring fiber optic into town here. When they bring fiber optic into town, everything will improve a lot better. And then I also have to spend more money on a better video card as well. All right, folks, that's it for tonight. I want to thank everyone for coming in, for their comments in the side chat. And remind everybody, if you haven't hit the thumbs up, please hit the thumbs up. And if you came in late, please come back and watch the beginning half of it and make comments there as well. All right, so everyone, remember, stay happy no matter what life throws at you. Even if you're in Southern California with the great nuisance. Sorry, I lost it there. Oh, I'm sorry. I just love poking fun at him. So stay happy no matter what life throws at you. Stay safe. Don't go out and do anything foolish. Keep adding to your preps: water, food, medicine, clothing, and skills. All right. See you around. Take care.